Borderlands is the 2024 sci-fi action movie based on the popular video game series of the same name. The story follows the ragtag group comprised of the bounty hunter Lilith, the soldier Roland, the psycho-turned-good Craig, and the talking robot Claptrap. Their main mission is trying to protect/save Tiny Tina, the daughter of the head of the Atlas Corporation, which is the de facto big bad company in the story. Their mission leads them on an action-packed adventure filled with a lot of explosions, but very little substance beyond that. This movie does very well at living up to its source material, in the sense it captures the bright colors and vibrant, outrageous action. Having played the Borderlands games myself, I can honestly say that the first act felt a lot like Borderlands, with the epic set pieces and what could have easily been a fun boss fight in the video game. Unfortunately, that also means it feels like Borderlands with a very lackluster and mostly forgettable story. Borderlands is known as a looter shooter, not an amazing story-driven game. They could have easily fixed this if the movie had leaned into its more comical nature. However, it becomes very clear midway through this movie that multiple things were missing to make this a good movie. The first and honestly biggest misstep this movie makes is it's not an R-rated movie, which makes all the action feel muted and all the dialogue feel stunted. What makes Borderlands, the game, so great is the insane world mixed with the vulgar humor. This world doesn't have that. For example, one of the titular characters in the game, Claptrap, the robot known for throwing F-bombs in the game, I mean to the point where you shoot him, he will throw an F-bomb at you, barely says anything that makes you laugh for more than a second in this movie. This leads me to the next issue with this movie. The casting. Everyone either felt like they were phoning it in or were just miscast, and none of the actors seemed to have chemistry with each other. Claptrap is played by Jack Black, but honestly, I didn't even realize that until the ending credits. That's how forgettable most of what he said was. Claptrap will get a few cheap laughs, but nothing that you will truly remember after you leave this movie. Cate Blanchett is the bounty hunter Lilith, the serious, non-joking character which other characters are supposed to play off of, but it never happens. She feels like Arnold Schwarzenegger in Terminator 2, without anyone else to make her serious nature funny. Next in the group is Kevin Hart, who is cast as the badass soldier, and I do think Kevin Hart plays this role very well, and comes off as a badass at times. But with Blanchett already playing the no-nonsense soldier/bounty hunter, I think Hart needed to take a slightly more joking role. I'm not saying he needed to be cracking one-liners all the time, but having two no-nonsense characters as the leads doesn't really work out that well. Later, we get introduced to our final member of the crew, and she's played by Jamie Lee Curtis, and I adore that actor. But I just don't feel like she was given much to work with. Her dialogue is forgettable, and she just feels like something to move the plot along. I will say the two shining stars of this cast are Tiny Tina, played by Ariana Greenblatt, and Krieg, played by Florian Moutinho. Don't know how to pronounce that one. Tiny Tina was amazing. She felt like she was straight out of the Borderlands games, with her bubbly and psychotic nature. Craig didn't talk much, but every time he did, it was one of the highlights of the movie for me. Side note, and this is more about the timing of the movie's release, not the movie itself, but you cannot have an action-packed comedy set in the desert where a ragtag group of people unite to save the planet/world the same time Deadpool is in theaters with a very similar Mad Max-inspired plot. This basically plays as the PG-13 of Deadpool, without the laughs, violence, or plot. Finally, what I think held this movie back the most is it couldn't decide on what tone it wants. The first act was filled with big explosions, big shootouts, bright colors, and jokes. The final act decides to take a much more serious tone. Fate of this, need to protect that, someone might die, normal, noble sacrifice. This isn't Borderlands. Tone is a very important thing to a film, and the final act just feels like this is where we have to have the big dramatic final fight, so let's slow everything down and make it all about that. When they were doing the final battle speeches, I was waiting for some good jokes, but it was all serious. The one thing I will say about the final 20 minutes of the movie is all of a sudden you'll find yourself asking, wait, am I in a superhero movie? That's how disjointed it feels from the rest of the movie. All that being said, this isn't a horrible movie. The action is fun, And there are some good jokes, and honestly, Tiny Tina and Craig will keep you pretty entertained. But I'd suggest you wait until it comes out on streaming. My final review for this movie is a 2.0 out of 4. It was almost a 2.5, but as I wrote the review, I realized the flaws outweighed the good. I hope you all enjoyed this video. This has been SOS Movie Reviews, signing off.